P.T. Logan's 5 Minutes of Terror. Twisted, troubling tales to send a chill up your spine.
Oil. Just try it, Lucy urged her younger brother. Look, the fries that Mom and Dad make out of this thing are incredible. Best in the world, right? And that fried chicken? Lucy licked each one of her fingers on her left hand dramatically. Delicious. Max glanced at the vat of oil. What Lucy was saying was true. Their family chicken and fry restaurant made the best fried foods in all of Montreal. There was no denying that. It was highly addictive. And Max, having worked side by side with his father in the store since he could walk, knew that it was the oil that made their food taste so good. Their father claimed that it was special, that he had smuggled the oil with him when he'd immigrated from Japan long before either Max or Lucy had been born. But he refused to tell them any more about it, except to say that the more they used it, the better it tasted. But now it was just oil. Dark brown, nearly black in some places. It didn't look appetizing at all. Here, I'll get you a spoon. Lucy walked over to the counter and grabbed a clean spoon off the rack. I'll even scoop some of it out for you. As Lucy did just that, she added, heck, if you have some, if you're brave enough, I'll try it too. Max loved his sister. She looked out for him, even threatened a local bully when he'd started bullying him, but she was persistent to the point of being annoying. She wouldn't stop bothering him until he tried a little of the oil. And, truthfully, he was curious to know what it would taste like on his own. Fine, he said, and Lucy started to smile. She held the spoon with just a couple drops of the oil on it out to Max. He took it and then, with Lucy still grinning at him, brought it to his lips. If he hesitated now, he knew that he might crack, so he just stuck it in his mouth and gulped it down. And? How was it? Lucy asked, excitement in her voice. Max kept his eyes closed for several seconds before answering. Max? He opened his eyes. Disgusting, he whispered. Lucy laughed and reached for the spoon. Okay, my turn, I promised. Max pulled the spoon back. No, you don't have to. It was really gross, Lucy. You sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, Lucy said with a shrug. Now come on, let's get back upstairs and into bed before Mom and Dad notice we're missing. Max nodded, but as he left the restaurant, he looked over his shoulder at the vat of oil. He'd lied. It wasn't disgusting. It was delicious. Perhaps the most amazing thing he'd ever tasted. And the reason why he'd lied was because he didn't want Lucy to have any. He wanted more for himself. Lucy, where's your brother? Her father asked. He's not in his room. Lucy shrugged. I don't know, maybe he went downstairs to set things up early for today's lunch rush. This wasn't terribly unusual, but her dad seemed concerned for some reason. I'm going to go downstairs and look for him. I'll come with. Together, Lucy and her father hurried downstairs and found the restaurant's door unlocked. See? Lucy said, but when they didn't immediately hear anything from inside, she started to get a little worried herself. Her dad hurried to the kitchen in front of Lucy, and when he got there, he stopped so suddenly that she bumped into him from behind. Dad, what's wrong? No, the man moaned. No, please, not the oil. I can never get that again. No. As her dad dropped to his knees and covered his face with his hands to contain his sobs, Lucy slid past him and saw, with horror, that the vat of oil, the special oil that her father had smuggled into the country decades ago and could never get again, was completely empty. Not a single drop remained. Not believing her eyes, Lucy took a step forward to get a better look and then stopped when she heard a voice from her right. I'm sorry. It was Max. Lucy turned her head and stared at her brother. She'd seen him less than 8 hours ago, but he looked very different then. Now, he was wearing his work shirt, but the buttons on the front had all popped, revealing his massive stomach beneath. His cheeks were also swollen to such an extent that she could barely see his eyes. And Max's lips. They were thick and shiny and slapped together awkwardly when he spoke. What have you done? Lucy whispered. Max, what have you done? I couldn't stop, Max said, his voice thick and wet. It was just so good. He moved a little, just a tiny shift of his weight, and Lucy heard a sloshing, squishing sound coming from deep within her brother's stomach. I had to, Lucy. I had to drink it all. I just couldn't stop.
P.T. Logan's 5 Minutes of Terror. Twisted, troubling tales to send a chill up your spine.